How could I not have said that whole thing? Okay, so we were just talking with Mike a minute ago, and I've been driving on the road since Tuesday, and I saw this car with these bumper stickers, all the color of my glasses. And the one was the LGBTQIA whatever flag with the Ukraine aspect, with the Black Lives Matter aspect, with every single virtue signaling thing in one horrible flag. And then next to it was, again, in this color, protect trans kids. And I was just like, how about we just start with protecting the kids? Protect
Yeah,
the kids. Protect the
that's right.
kids.
Yeah.
All
Then it's
kids.
like, then it's like from what? And this is the core of the entire problem. You know, like I keep feeling, like I've seen throughout my life, the first law of problem solving is to know what the problem is. I mean, I hit the wall in 93. I could die right now and I wouldn't care. Well, why? I knew straight away that I had no idea. It was really, really important. I mean, you're talking about life, like whether or not you want to live. That's a big problem. And admitting that you have no idea why you feel that way. You can come up with all sorts of reasons why, but you can't kid yourself that you really know why. So either you choose to live with that question, really
Which
honestly,
is
because
what we did, which is exactly what we did because I did not want to be alive for many years and I did not understand where that was coming from. What all of a sudden was so wrong? Well,
that's right.
everything was wrong, but I didn't know what it
It's
was.
that's it. That's it. And the only answer is the one that answers that question. And you don't even know what it looks like, but you know that all the answers you've got don't answer the question. And that's the best place you can be.
You've been telling me
The
that for years, and I told you to shut up every time you said it. I told you, shut up. How can being absolutely lost, caring about nothing and no one,
Yeah,
how can that be the best place to be
that's right.
when it's
It
the
isn't.
opposite of who I always was?
Dude,
It
it's
feels
the
like
worst.
death.
It's the worst place to be. The best place to be is having the question, yeah, but why? And I have no idea why. Admitting that there is a reason, but you have no idea what it is. That's the problem everyone's been suffering from since early childhood when they were first convinced that they had to be somebody else to be worthy of love, which is fundamentally what's running it all. So that gets back to all of the agendas around, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
You
Everything is
name it.
saying, you name it, whatever direction you want to look in, look at it with a question. What's really going on with that? Like, what's the real motivation behind the LGBTQ movement? What's the real motivation behind climate change? Blah, 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 blah. Everything the mainstream media's been pumping out. Now, that's
Black
a
Lives
massive,
Matters, all
all
of
of it,
it.
all of it. Not that any of those principles aren't absolutely true.
Exactly.
Right.
Perfect. I love gays. I love trans. I love blacks, right? I love our
Of course.
I love our earth. I love our trees.
If,
But the
if you're human,
agenda behind, right.
if you're human, you deserve love. Full
Yes.
stop.
Full stop.
So let's get that off the table. When people, what this is how this system's always worked since the Roman Empire. Think of the Trojan horse. You can't question the strategy and the motivation behind it without seeming like you're saying that it's okay not to love people of a certain type, because that's what they do. They hide the motivation behind. It's like you're caught between a rock and a hard place. You can't name a problem that people with a very big investment in that being the answer to their pain. You can't, it's very difficult to have a rational conversation with people who are suffering, who've been suffering from being marginalized, and that's a very real thing. But who did the marginalizing and what purpose did it serve? That
Mhm.
question points to a single group with a single motivation that have been manipulating the human race for thousands of years and have never been clearly seen before. Right. So that gets back to who are they and what do they want and what are they trying to achieve with all of this? But you've got to be willing to hit the wall with the pain you're carrying and realize that you don't really know the answer. Now, that's again, it's emotionally charged for someone who was born feeling like they're not, let's say, you want to say gay or lesbian. They're not, they don't feel comfortable in their own sexuality, and they're made to feel like they're a problem for that. Now, you grow up, everyone's got their own version of you're not okay as you are. It's the same problem universally for everybody's got the same problem. You have to be somebody else to be worthy of love. You aren't okay as you are. It's a mind control program. Now, your version of it can be extreme depending on the trauma. It can look like a whole range of different symptoms or different aspects. It can be a broad cross section in the whole society, but everyone's got the same problem. When they ask, hang on, why do I feel the way I do? What's the true problem? I believe that I'm someone else that I have to be because I'm not right as I am. Is that really true? So they've relied on the emotional reactionaryism, problem, reaction, solution to keep us divided.
Mhm.
And that's all blowing up in a big way, big way. And they're not getting away with it in the way they used to. I was told years and years ago that just as COVID was coming in, I had experiences since I was a child, lots and lots of them, all pieces of a puzzle that I've held. You don't get all the answers, you get pieces of them so that you can watch it play it in real time and connect the dots yourself.
Mhm.
So that's what's been playing out for me personally. I don't
Right.
see the whole picture, I don't have all the answers, but
No,
I've got a
God
certain
said it's not
perspective.
good to give all the
Yeah,
answers.
exactly. And that's why you've got to put
Direct
two and two.
experience is where
You got
you
to
can, yeah,
exactly.
you
Yeah.
speak with
So
authority. People can hear you and feel your truth because you've lived it.
it comes from the heart because you've lived it. Yeah, exactly. So I've gone through my own personal journey since I got on my knees that same night. I realized I could wake up in the middle of the night. I could die right now and I would not care. Now I had my own reasons for that, maybe different for a lot of people, but it's the same issue. And I knew I couldn't, I had no idea what the problem was, and I needed help right now. And for whatever reason, because of all the experiences I had as a child, particularly a few, I asked for help from source, the source of everything. So I got on my knees and said, I don't know who, and this is important, because separate yourself from religion, another mind control program to
Mhm.
design, divide, and conquer, divide you from your source, the truth of who you are. I don't know who you are or where you are or what you are, but I know that you are.
Mhm.
In other words, I'll let the form and timing of that reality be whatever it is. I don't care. Please help. And I've just lived from that moment on with an open book, just like, okay, I'm watching what's happening right now. I can't say that this isn't the help, what I'm experiencing in each moment that came from that. I can't say it isn't the help. Maybe it is. Maybe I need to go. I've heard sometimes to go somewhere properly. I remember hearing this as a child. Sometimes to go somewhere properly, you need to go a long way out of your way. So my expectations of what the process looked like could be coming from the problem. So what do I know? So I just let life take me. And a whole lot of stuff played out because of
Yep.
that. I
Yep.
wasn't in the way I was before. And that the filter, the illusion that the filter I was running had any value was gone. Now
Yep.
that to apply that when you're caught up in this controlled narrative, extreme polarity that's playing out right now, that's a tough one. And they're using our pain against us.
Yes,
Weaponize
they
one of
are.
the main strategies is to weaponize life against itself through free will.
Yep.
Self-aware life is the core of the universe. So,
Hmm.
and it's blowing up right now in a major way. I think a lot of people aren't. They're standing back in a way they never have before and looking at it, going, "Hang on a minute," which gets back to what's happening in Melbourne and Australia particularly. I was told because I actually went through this process for 3.5 years since I asked for help, where I actually connected directly with Source, only because there was nothing in the way. I didn't have
Yeah.
it. I was just taken through a whole series of choice points and I didn't know what I was being brought through. I just asked for help and I knew that something was happening. I kept getting these feelings like just say step this way, it would just come over me, so I would, and I'd trust that the next step would come, whatever it looked like. And I ended up randomly connecting with people who I went to a house in Wiltshire from Scotland. randomly. The next thing I know, I'm talking to God. Believe what you want. I can't prove that to anyone. There were three other people in the room who know exactly what happened. And I'm happy with that. So people can take that, whatever. The last thing he said to me after the second conversation was, and he kind of gave me a heads up of what my life was going to lead to. You say to people, you speak to God, we thank you for your courage. Because you're talking to the most powerful trigger point in the entire playbook of this control narrative, your connection with source, which is your connection to life. The strategy is always take control of the narrative. This is those of the interference is the way Tom, I call him, or God described them, those of the interference. Take control of the narrative, mainstream media, etc. Religion was the mainstream media of the ancient world. Generate divide and conquer through problem reaction solution. So they create these stories about problems. The reactionaryism is always built into us already when we were kids. We have to be somebody. What is that? Now you're hooked into the mind control. You've got to figure out what it is that will make people love you or for you to be accepted. And you go, and that pulls you through a mind control process, essentially. Our whole personality forms around this false idea that we've got to be someone else. So we become someone we're not. And we defend that with everything we've got because it's all we know. And
It's all we know.
it's protecting us from the pain of separation of self, pain of
Mhm.
separation from other people. And connection is the whole fundamental nature of self-aware life.
Mhm.
We're going against life by doing that. And maybe you're successful in the physical world, academic or whatever. So, you've got a big investment in there in that identity. Oh, finally, I'm someone in the world. So it's hard to
Thank
let
God
go
I
of
never
it.
had that.
Well, me either, right? But essentially, it's really quite a simple thing. Is it really true that I'm not worthy as I am? And what is that even?
Yeah,
So that's
so I want you to touch on what's happening in Melbourne. I want you to basically repeat what you said to me and Mike about
okay.
that. Like just everything. I mean, you pretty much said it because life is being weaponized against life. Like this is what's
Yeah,
happening.
through free will.
And it's not individual people's faults. Like
No,
I'm not looking to blame an already marginalized people or to stereotype anybody. I'm not
in
look
fact, the opposite.
right.
You
Right.
try,
We're
exactly.
trying, yeah. Yeah. We're trying to the see the nuance in the manipulation to see how it's our emotions have been hijacked using
Yes.
people against people.
Yeah. Because the
Yeah.
solution is always centralization of power, totalitarianism, right? And that gets back to what's happening now. I was told in 2019, before it was playing out, a couple of things actually. One was my attention was pointed to March, the year that Russia went into Ukraine. Now this was about 6 months before it happened, and I was shown a map of the next timeline, and there was a whole series of um, months
Events.
that were highlighted. Yeah, but one of them was the March of that year. It was a solid red with a white dot in the center, and it was called 0 point. The turning point. And I had no idea what it meant, but my attention to see how they work. It's not good to give all the answers. They point your attention, the guides that I have, point your attention in a certain direction in a certain way with certain words. And so you can read the play as it's playing out. So as soon as Russia went into Ukraine, I knew, right, that's it. And don't believe the media. Take whatever the media is saying about it and flip it out. So I was open. And once that happens, it's like your question, ask and you shall receive. Your question is like a frequency receiver that will receive the right words at the right time. So I caught because they have to let the truth be there. They can't violate the law of free will, but it's confusion as well.
Yes.
So I caught some news articles about Zelensky being the head of a fascist neo-Nazi faction within the military in Ukraine, who took over during a military coup. It popped up and then poof, gone. Like it came through mainstream media.
Yeah.
And I caught that and a whole series of other things. So I knew it was the inversion, it was the opposite. Russia kicked the deep state out when communism fell, because that's totalitarianism. And they've been fighting against this group ever since. So they've been vilified. Of course, that's what you do.
Oh,
So
yes.
what
If
happened
you're
in
not
Ukraine?
towing the line, you're going to be decimated.
That's right. So what's really been happening in Ukraine is removing this neo-Nazi, which is really just the same group. Every
Yeah,
totalitarian system is just the same people with different faces.
absolutely.
Getting them out of this part of Europe because they've been a massive problem since the Roman Empire. They've been manipulating everything since the Roman Empire. So the next thing that happened was they came in and said in 2019, the final point of their plan is their most vulnerable point. If they lose control of the narrative, it will undo problem, reaction, solution, divide, and conquer.
One
And
fell
then,
swoop.
bam, COVID came out. Because
COVID.
the law of free, we have to, for this plan to work, the whole human race becoming slaves, we have to choose it. We have to invite it in. Otherwise, they can be ousted straight away. If we choose to wake up, there's nothing they can do. We chose to wake up. So the force that can come up against this, those of the interference, they've got nothing. The only defense they have is we invite them to do it. So we have to be allowed to experience our choice. Nothing anyone can do about it. And that was their plan all along. But it had to come down to one choice globally. And of course, that the risk is if they lose control of the narrative, it'll expose the fact that they control the narrative. And that's exactly what's playing out.
It
The
is.
next thing, well, the next thing they showed me was that that's exactly what happens. They showed me simultaneously everyone around the planet saying, if they lied about that, what else have they lied about? And a domino reaction of all these dominoes rewriting our entire history.
I know.
And so what's been playing out is too many people have gone, hang on a minute, through COVID as it was playing out. It broke the laws of the Geneva Convention and the Nuremberg Code. Nuremberg Code is designed to
Mhm.
stop what happened with biological warfare. Remember, we have to choose it directly. So they set up World War II to create this choice point of Nuremberg Code, which they could then bring in a pandemic, global pandemic, to get us to say yes to everything that was in the Nuremberg Code.
Yep.
Yes to biological warfare. Yes to totalitarianism. Yes to blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, yeah.
But essentially, it was to encapsulate what we chose when we said, yes, okay, the pandemic, we need to let them pass laws that bypass the rule of law and our sovereign right to choose by free will how we live and what we put into our bodies, etc.
Yeah.
But instead, they've too many people caught onto it. Now, a lot didn't, of course. Problem, reaction, solution, reactionaryism. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people went straight into fear and wanted to
Ran
protect.
straight for the
Exactly.
jab.
Because, the implications of if COVID's a lie, it undoes my entire sense of reality and I'm protecting the trauma that I feel. That's what the entire sense of reality is for, is to shut out the feeling I'm not worthy as I am. And if I let that in, I have to let go of all of it. Now, it's
All
a
of it.
very subconscious reaction. It's not a conscious thing. Consciously, we have a whole justification paradigm flipping around, right? And
Yep.
but underneath the real motivation, one thing God said to me, your motivation is your protection in all things. If you want the truth, really the truth, which is that question, hang on a minute, what do I know? It will unravel the whole thing in just the right sequence of experiences at just the right order. But if you're not willing to do that, you'll make the problem look like the solution and the solution
Yes.
look like the problem. You'll make the
This,
enemy look like the friend and the friend look like the enemy to
that's
protect
exactly what's
yourself.
happened to so many of
Exactly
us in
what's
our
happening.
families.
Yep. And every single narrative is designed to keep us in that climate change, um,
Gender
transsexualism,
wars.
gender,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
all
yeah.
of it. Yeah.
Yep. Black
So
Lives Matter.
like,
Any
yeah.
any virtue
Mm.
signaling, anything you would reproductive rights, women's rights, all of it. Anything that
All of
you
it.
would march on Washington for and pick it with a sign
Yep.
is socially engineered. Like
Yep.
full stop. There is
Full stop.
nothing organically
No.
coming from the ground up with
Yep.
any of that. We
That's right.
all of us had our emotions hijacked. Every
Yep.
single one of us.
We
Yeah.
aren't who we think we are.
Nope.
Now that's you pull the rug out from under who you think you are, that's everything collapses. And that's a
It
tough
almost
one to
kills
do.
you. It
It,
almost
it
killed
does, ego
me.
death. Ego death. And
Yes.
the whole mind control program is based on protecting yourself against fear of the unknown, self doubt, creates fear of it. If you doubt yourself, and that's where it starts, you're afraid of what could happen. So it's death.
I loved your example of ask the question, whoa, what do I know? That was very funny. Whoa,
Yeah.
what do I
What
know?
the F?
Because it's a courageous thing to say. It's a courageous thing to admit. What do I know? What
And it's
can I
really
know about
great question.
anything I'm reading or watching or
Yeah.
hearing? What can I know? If it's not in front of my face, I can't know it. I can't know
That's
it.
it. All I know right now is that I'm sitting in a chair and it's a beautiful sunny day and it's and etc.
And you're
What's
talking to your
happening,
friend. Yep.
and I'm talking, but what's happening in Europe via the media? I mean, okay, so someone's telling me, again, the truth about being objective about something and rational. A lot
Sure.
of people try to explain away the galactic scale as being irrational, for instance. But is it really irrational to just think that you understand the universe enough to say that ETs don't exist?
Right.
Isn't that irrational?
That's
How about we just
irrational.
stay with not knowing? But you can
Yes.
see how hard that is for people to do.
Oh,
I
they
have to
can't.
know.
They have to
I've
be
got
the
to
one who
know.
knows.
I've got to know so that I can pretend that I'm okay right now because I don't feel I am. Now that assumption that I'm not okay, maybe has that ever been looked at? Have we ever gone back and gone, hang on a minute, who's to say I'm not fine? And the reality of who I am and where I am isn't fine as it is, that I've got to work off the assumption that everything's got to be different because I've never got anywhere trying to do that.
Right.
You know, the Buddha, he was the prince, he had the world in his hands and it didn't touch him. So he had, that's what the Buddha represents. You can
Right.
have the whole world in your hand and it still doesn't fix the hole in your heart.
It
So
doesn't.
what
It
value does it
doesn't.
have? And what
Right.
do you
Right.
really know? Because it's all built on the idea that you know what you need to do to go, I'll do this and then blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But if you work off the assumption that you need to fix a problem that doesn't exist, you take that problem, you make it real every time you act. And
Every
that's what
time.
we've been doing. We've been creating this problem without realizing it. We've been creating the very problem that's causing us all to suffer.
Yeah.
And so what's actually happening is too many people have held that question now. So what? By losing the way my guides described it, they will lose control of the narrative. They've lost control of the narrative. What they've lost control of is timing, the timing of it.
Mhm.
You've got to be very, very careful when you're manipulating free will. You've got to make the falsehood look like the truth. And it's quite shocking. COVID, for instance,
Mhm.
you've got to shock people just enough
Mhm.
to get the trajectory of decision making in the right direction for their agenda, but not
Yeah.
too much or they react against that.
Right.
And you've got to stop and let it normalize. So the history of the human race since the Roman Empire is a classic case of social engineering. That's what it's been from the entire time.
Yeah.
This phrase, the fourth beast shall rise from the sea, it's corporations aligned with admiralty law. You couldn't say that back then. The code had to be written in a code that people could hold at the time, but could be reinterpreted later when it was happening. So you realize what they were talking about. You can't describe a cell phone 2,000 years ago. You can't say to someone, you need to, like this, you can't describe a cell phone to a person
Mhm.
alive in the Roman Empire
Right.
so that they won't be able to hold the code. So you've got to put it in terms they can understand at the time.
Mhm.
That can then be reinterpreted. So corporations and admiralty law, Vatican. Now, what they've been doing ever since, this group that inverted the Roman Empire from a federation into a totalitarian system, that was like the Roman Empire period is like a microcosm of what they're doing right now around the planet. And everything that played out from that point to now has been that plan playing out. But it's had to be done in very small stages, normalized, next stage, very meticulously timed. But they've lost control of the timing. So they're having to rush everything now. And it looks crazy.
It's so crazy. It's
It looks
so
crazy.
clumsy. It's retarded.
The most angry people, anger is pain expressed, pain of separation. The most angry people are having the hardest time. And it's been that anger, they're trying to amplify it. But again, the last thing I was told by source in 97 was Australia is the future. Now, I was born in England and we moved to Australia when I was 4. And that sort of had to happen. I had to have a connection to both. I'm a dual citizen. I have passports in both countries, but my frequency, if you like, resonates with both countries, and that's important.
Hmm.
But when he said it, because I was in 5D, I was in a chair in a room, and I was also in 5D. It was quite an unusual experience. I had like a face in front of me. He said, "Australia's the future," and he went like this, like, "This is important. Hold that one, right?" But he was
Hmm.
smiling, like, "It's going to be all right."
Hmm.
And that connected me to an experience I had when I was about 9, where I fell off a roof. I fell 3 stories, and I was being lowered to the ground in a giant hand, with my head in the palm of this giant hand. And I
Hmm.
saw 9 images of the universe, human race, soul purpose, mind, everything, all of it, like. And but I hit the ground without any problem, no impact. I barely felt it, so no bruises. It was a building site, so you can imagine what should have happened. Didn't None
Yeah,
of it.
yeah.
I didn't even barely felt it.
Impaled with nails, you should have been,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Well, I caught the "this is a piece of the puzzle you'll understand later" feeling I had when I walked home, and it was a big one, But I realized it meant don't worry about how it looks. You're being held the whole way. Don't let fear run you. Just relax and because we're holding you through a series of experiences for a very good reason. That's the 9 images.
Yeah.
So I realized um, that what was going to play out from that conversation in 97 to what's happening now was just a part of that process. And it was full on. It's been full on,
I
really
know.
full on. However, I always knew there was a purpose for it because of these. Now, what's happening in Australia right now? Firstly, they've gone to town on this country big time. So China was given the head of this corporate system in when Britain handed Hong Kong over. So the core corporation now is there are two, BlackRock and Vanguard, both satanic symbols. Satan is just an idea, by the way.
Yeah.
The idea that the ego can be separate from consciousness and live as an equal, but
Hmm.
that's not the case.
It's not the
Anyway,
case.
so the Vanguard and BlackRock are symbols of making that physical, and they're using self-aware life to try and make this system physical. As we're slaves, we stop being conduits for source, we start being conduits for this false reality, and we co-create. We have the power to create reality, and that's what this whole motivation's been about. God said, "What are they trying to achieve?" He said, "They're looking for a way to make the transition with you," which is what's playing out on the planet now. So Britain handed the Chinese Communist Party control of BlackRock. They're the major shareholder of BlackRock. And Australia also has the oldest single race in human history connected to the land, which is the Australian Aboriginals. And that's very important. They've been here in one form for the entire time. The whole Atlantean thing, everything, all of it's been played out.
Yep.
And that's very important. And plus, you know what, we had 25 million people in a massive country. So it's basically empty and a
Mm.
lot of resources, etc. And it's an island continent. So it represents the opposite of Atlantis. The symbolism will be their downfall. Atlantis was a lot of things. It was massive colonies as well. It wasn't just a single island, but it's symbolized by that, an island continent. And
Hmm.
Australia is the other one. So the inversion process symbolically was going to be completed here. So China is in the process of taking over Australia, although that's what they think is going to happen anyway, through the communist play that's coming in through the Labor Party in this country, through the federal government and all the state governments, particularly in Victoria, Melbourne, where I live. That's why we were brought here. And what's been playing out, a lot of things, but in Melbourne, they've gone really, really to town on the immigration thing. So and again, it's not about the people. I was
No.
told, yeah, once the people are past this, we'll be able to be friends with each other. We'll see ourselves in each other. We'll finally be able to see and hear each other. All the trauma we've all been through, Sudanese, Afghans, all the people enslaved by Islam.
Chinese. Yeah.
Islam right now, the Chinese people who have been through Chinese communism,
Yeah.
but they flooded Melbourne with Chinese people. And the problem with that is they upped all of the cost of living to the point where couldn't function. So Australians were becoming homeless. Business taxes were slammed. They used COVID as an excuse to bring all that in. The
Oh yeah.
intention was to destabilize the Australian society. And then a lot of people with money from China were brought in who could
China.
buy up all the houses, all the business. Houses now are ridiculous. You can't buy a house. Our kids, no way. 3, 4 million for a standard 4 bedroom house, 3 bedroom house. That's just ridiculous. My parents bought their house for $12,000.
Mhm.
My kids got to buy their small 3 bedroom standard suburban house for 3 million, if they want to be anywhere near the city.
Yeah.
And so what's happening is that sort of strategy playing out. They've gone to
Yeah.
town on the transgender movement. They're trying to eradicate polarity between sexes. That's extremely important because
Yeah.
all of us are masculine and feminine. You have to get them in balance within you.
Hmm.
And if you aren't allowed to be one or the other, you've got to be neutral. Then that's the whole, you can see the strategy behind it.
Yeah.
Think of positive, negative charge in
Yeah.
electricity. You take all the power away.
Yeah.
It's again symbolic of us giving our power to them. Masks in COVID. Shut up, you're a slave.
Yeah.
And one of the building programs, massive, huge, like the Chinese, the amount of money coming in to create satellite cities throughout Victoria,
Hmm.
that whole agenda, the
Hmm.
EV flooding us with
Are
EV
those
vehicles.
oh, the vehicles, right.
Yeah,
Are those
5,000 were just dropped off in Melbourne. They're trying to destroy Japan and Europe's automotive markets. And they're using
yes.
Australia as a test bed for that. Like the whole left wing side is becoming overtly communist, but he's blowing up. So the leader of the Victorian Labor Party, who is the premier, what we call the premier, like your state governors, um, has just had to resign. Now, a big, what you call it, corruption thing has blown up because her husband is the head of a union called the CFMEU, who are running all of these massive building projects. So billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars of federal money and state money has been poured into this
Yep.
building program here. Now his wife is the leader who assigns the money, and he's the head of the union who took it.
Who
And
receives
it's just
it?
been discovered that tens of billions of dollars of that money was funneled into organized crime
That
networks all
happens
around.
over here. That
Yeah.
happens over here. Yep.
It's when the
Yep. Yep.
Chinese Asian triad gangs started moving into Australia during COVID,
Yep.
flooding us with drugs that destroyed people's brains, that hit the homeless people. Um, and that's all blowing up. And the new leaders come in, and they're not getting away with the tactic. Like the Roman Empire converting to Christianity was meant to fix the corruption of the Roman Empire, and everyone has been buying that strategy, but it's not quite working the way it used to. So
Oh.
people calling him out like as if it's as if the leader didn't go anywhere. It's the same stuff they're saying to this new guy because he was
Yep.
present through all of it. And the same's blowing back on the federal government. Um,
I
so
wanted to
there's
s- I wanted to make kind of a comparison. Um and I can't really think of it right now, but it's kind of like along the lines of making things so unlivable and out of price range for Australians that they become homeless and destitute, and then in swoop the Chinese with all the money to take their homes and their jobs and their lives, basically. And again, it's not about the people. I'm not blaming the people, but it's along the lines of the wildfires and the things that they're doing to land to make the land ownership unfeasible by the people in Hawaii or LA. And then the people with the money, possibly Chinese, possibly what have you, immigrants, coming in with lots of money, buying up all the land. Like it's a different thing,
yeah,
but it's the same
the
thing.
same thing. Cultural
Yeah.
genocide. They've been using that strategy since
Yeah.
since the Atlantean destruction event. Every civilization that pops up, they've been rewriting, recreating through this strategy of cultural genocide. wiping out whole cultures and replacing them over time and building up this false reality that we live in now gradually over time. And
Yeah.
they're using the same strategy now on a global level. That's
Yeah.
all. So they're using the trauma they've put all of the people throughout Africa, the Arab nations since the 70s, since post World War II. Remember that it's all part of the same strategy. They did that deliberately to set up this time right now. Everything that's played out since World War II has been about what's happening now. World War II itself, the whole history of the 20th century, has all been about what's happening right now.
Yep.
So all of these crazy decisions governments have made throughout, we've all gone, hey, what are they doing here through the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 40s, 50s, 60s? They all make sense when you realize it's one strategy designed to make what's happening now work.
Yeah.
You realize why Nixon took America off the gold standard. Oh, that's why.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
it's it.
why.
The Fed Reserve, the sinking of the Titanic. Who was on board
Titan.
the Titanic?
Right.
La-di-da-di-da, all the way through. What was the ramifications of World War II? The UN, World Economic Forum, la-di-da-di-da-di-da, centralized or
Yes. It's all connected.
CIA, Mossad, basically secret intelligence networks that could operate above and beyond the rule of law,
Yes.
which couldn't exist before World War II.
Right.
Well, what role would
It's
that? Well,
all a
because
setup.
then you bring in AI and the ability to set up a network all around the world that everyone's connected to through the control, through, and you switch all it on, right? But the one ingredient is we have to choose it for it to work. And that's what hasn't happened. The human race reached critical mass, 100th monkey effect in 97 to choose to
97.
wake up to the truth. That question you asked and I asked and millions of people all around the world who were
Yeah.
willing to admit they had no clue what the problem was,
No
but they
idea.
really had to figure it out because it was life or
Right.
death.
I could
Existential
die
threat.
right now.
I wouldn't care.
Wouldn't care. And for me, I've said it on many of our shows, it's truth or die. Truth or die. What is
All the
the
day.
point otherwise?
What is the point
Otherwise.
otherwise?
But the other point, when I held up my phone, what I thought you were going to say, of course, there's the Nazarene saying, you got it. You're nailing it. But when I held up the phone, what I thought you were going to point out was that all weapons used against you will be like all the lines connecting them to you connect you to them. So what we're seeing as totalitarianism and like connection and oversight over what's the word where they have surveillance like
Yeah.
obscene surveillance of you is has also brought about incredible transparency and connectivity. Like I just spent
Yes.
the last 3 days traveling all over New England, meeting all these people in Alex Zek's community who I wouldn't even know existed if it weren't for the internet and the weapon that we've used against them.
Hmm.
Like it's
It's
this
it's like that.
double-edged sword, and
Yep.
they really underestimated humanity. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
COVID did bring us, many lost their humanity in a sense in their
Yes.
behaviors and beliefs, and they're just
Mhm.
like over the top, like losing all bodily autonomy and breaking up families and friends and everything. That happened, yes, but they
Yes.
underestimated humanity.
See, I mean, that's the thing, that it all happened, but it serves us waking up to the real problem, not their
All of it.
solution, which is to take over through a totalitarian system, through the corporate takeover that they're trying to pull off around the world right now.
Yeah.
It's not going to work except it to show itself to us finally. That's
Yes.
what the phrase "the fourth beast shall rise from the sea" means. The admiralty law is where corporate law comes from. And the reason that's important and the reason it was put into that code is because corporations are an entity that can exist outside common law. They can exist above and beyond the
Yeah.
constitutional framework of any sovereign nation. So
Yeah.
whatever they buy up in a country isn't part of that country anymore. So that
Right.
was the plan. Now, the reason that's important is symbolism. It's all symbolism, is because common law, the law of the land. And what's the whole strategy? They're trying to sever our heart connection to the universe by getting us to choose that. We have to choose. Now they're going to, that's why would you choose slavery? Because you've got to think you're not. You've got to think it's something else.
Yeah.
So the whole controlled narrative is spinning everything to make it look like it's something else.
Yeah.
But symbolically, because the human body resonates at the same core fundamental frequency as the planet,
I
and
know.
the only two things on the planet that have, because molecular structure is frequency, atomic structure is just frequency. So you sum total all of the atomic different atoms have different frequencies within your body. You come to a sum total core frequency, and you can do that with everything that's physical. So the only
Mhm.
two things that do have the same frequency are the planet and the human body. And that's not an accident. That's the same to all self-aware life throughout the universe, because that's what self-aware life is, an extension in the physical of the same energy that everything comes from, which is why it's all one. It's all source. So that single frequency is conscious, one conscious energy that appears as separate form, which is really an illusion. So if we choose to sever our heart connection to the universe through free will, they've got us. What does that look like? It looks like a corporation. It looks like us saying yes. They're pushing everything to its absolute limit so that we break and we accept their solution, which is to fix all the problems the world has, in inverted commas. In other words, you will own nothing and be happy.
Hmm.
That's because corporations will own everything. And you'll be
Hmm.
happy because you'll be a mindless zombie. You'll
Hmm.
be a Borg drone, basically.
Yep.
And that's a sell job.
Yep.
It's just a total sell job. It's not
And we're
anything
not
but.
buying it.
That's right. So this whole thing with the legal kickback around sovereignty coming back out, there's a lot of aspects to all of this, but it's actually at its core very simple. It's one group with one agenda and one plan and one playbook, and they're not actually that creative, I've got to say. Once you see through the fundamental pattern
Oh, yes.
underlying it, you see it
Mhm.
everywhere.
You see
Now
it everywhere in
that's it.
everything. Yep.
The trick is to see the full scale of it. This process has been playing out for 12,000 years.
Yep.
And this is the end point right now. That's why it's called the end times.
Yep.
And the problem is, okay, I've got a problem. People on the street right now, why should you care about all this big picture stuff and politics and law and love, the stuff I'm talking about? Well, in a way you don't, because it's all one thing. You can come back to yourself. Who am I really? Now, one thing God said, He said, all self-aware life is five-sided, five-dimensional. We're not physical. For the fifth dimension, He called spirit. So just that single energy that everything emanates from. In physics, it's called absolute zero, 0 point.
Hmm.
All the laws of physics emerge from 0 point, just like light. It's like a holographic projection.
Hmm.
When you come back to the truth of who you are, the thing about fifth dimension, fourth dimension is time, and then there are three physical dimensions, which is up, up, down, sideways, like height, depth, breadth. It gives the illusion of space and time, which is what creates this illusion of physical separation.
Hmm.
But time is like a bridge between the three physical dimensions that seem linear and the fifth
And
dimension, which is
spirit.
time. Yeah, there's space and time don't exist in the fifth dimension. Everything's
No.
one, unified,
Yeah.
which means there's nowhere to hide. That's why it said in the end times, all charlatans will be revealed. The charlatans are our belief system, all the
Yeah.
false ideas we've got about ourselves, the false judgments. It's all a lie. We
Yeah.
aren't, that's not who we are. You don't need to figure out who everybody else is. You don't need to figure out who this they is
Nope.
necessarily.
Sure.
That comes next. If you just stay with, hang on a minute, who am I really? You're connecting to the transition wave
Yep.
100%, and you're being brought through a process, whether you know it or not, of having your subconscious rewritten.
Yep.
And there are too many people doing that. They're holding that question while they're looking at all of this play out. And there's only one thing that can happen is the answers come to you one by one.
Yeah.
Now, they don't all come together and it ain't
Yeah,
looking
I
the way you
know.
think. You've got to go out of your way to see that your way was the wrong way.
I know. It's so trippy. It's
Yeah,
so trippy.
that's it. So who you are really, who am I really in all of this?
Yeah,
Self-doubt.
I always say it. Take care of your terrain. Take care of your neighborhood. Take care of your immediate space and your loved ones and yourself, and the
Yep.
rest takes care of
The rest
itself.
takes care of itself. And that's really what's happening. So every strategy they're using, and that's what the Arcturians who I'm connected to, one of the guys said, all the lines, when they said that about the final point of their plans, the most vulnerable point, about a month later, they came in and said, all the lines of connection connecting them to you, in other words, the strategies, biological warfare, frequency warfare, psychological warfare, la di da. All those lines of connection to connecting them to you also connect you to them. So everyone who's doing this, what's happening? Because in physics, darkness is
We're
just an absence of
shocking
light.
them. We're
Right?
fucking
There
them
is
up.
it.
Yeah.
That we call them the dark, the evil. We think of it as dark, like it's a thing.
Yeah.
It isn't a thing, it's an absence of light. Well, what is light? Awareness, you could say,
Yeah.
and dark is lack of awareness. So we've asked the question, what's the truth? So that darkness is being the awareness of the human race is
Illuminated.
expanding in a sense, and they're running out of room. And the fifth dimension is nowhere to hide. The fifth dimension is coming up and out, and it's exposing all of this stuff in real time. And they've lost control. That's why
Oh,
they've lost control of
great.
the timing. They can't control the pace of it, so they're shocking too many people too fast. Who are then there is more and more people we call, let's say, normies who've never gone there before in their whole life.
Yeah.
But life sucks. They've been pushed to their limit and held there because that's their strategy. One thing Tom said to me about them and their strategy, they've never been able to break your human spirit. And that's what they've always tried to break your spirit, and you'll just roll over and accept whatever they give you. So too many people are at that point. They've got a great house and a great car and a great job, and it should be great, but it's not
And
because
it
they're pedaling so
sucks.
fast. They've got no headroom. So who cares? It's like the same thing as being broke. He
Right.
said you're
Right.
putting out energy.
Right.
Yeah.
And
So a
it's
lot of
not and
people,
it's not and it's not sustainable. It's filling a void that can't be filled with physical things. Like on the
that's
outside, I'm sure to my family members or friends or whatever who are no longer in my life looks perfect. Just to give an example, my life looks abundant and beautiful and wonderful, and it is. But that is completely unrelated to how deeply and profoundly sad I can feel, or how empty or huge the void is, which
yeah.
is being filled up with the Spirit of God and faith and belief. And, I can move
Yeah.
mountains. Yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah. So
unrelated to what you consume, what you have.
and life's just delivered you the physical resources that match your willingness to ask the question, what's the truth? And let that question run everything. You're under no
That's the true
illusion. Yeah.
manifestation.
You're going straight to 0 point.
And that's the true manifestation. Life has met me to support my belief, and it's not like in a reward
Willingness.
way, but my willingness, my faith,
Yeah. To
like
let the
it's
truth
being
derail everything you believe.
every single thing you believe. So while it looks like I've lost all these things, all the support and nurturing and abundance have come in so many ways. Like
They
it's
did.
magical. The universe wants to have your back. The universe, God
Has you
wants
back.
you to succeed. It has your back. Yes.
It's
Thank
just
you.
our thinking stops us. We compare, one of the things you've had to go through, for instance, is the judgment from other people about you being about, oh, you don't have to work. You don't, but the judgment coming from other people is really a mirror of a reflection of the self-judgment.
And what I believe.
That's
Yep.
right. So you kind of, I don't know what I
Thumbs
did
up,
there.
Gareth. I'm really
Thumbs
glad
up.
you're
There
happy
you
with what
go.
you said.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
What I'm saying, like self-judge,
Yes.
that's really what we're dealing with, our own self-judgment. So there's ways to look at yourself in the mirror through these experiences instead of trying to resolve it with other people. Like your family
No.
is a big one. We've
Pete
all
and I
gone
were
through.
just talking about that today. It's all up to me. It's all a reflection of what I'm believing, what I'm still holding on to, what I'm still attached to. As soon as I release that, he's like, and you've told me this for years, it's just going to come flooding back in. That's just the way it's going to happen.
See it. And the truth is, who cares what other people think? But we do. And we've got to be honest with
We
that.
do. We
We
do.
do care. But the part of the self that cares is where the real problem is. That's not, it's all still based on the assumption we have to be someone else other than who we are.
Yeah.
So it's a road. Once you see that, you start looking back at yourself instead of out there, and you use
Boy,
what
do
you're
you
seeing out
ever.
there as a pointer to
Lesson
point back.
as a message, as a
It
message.
describes the self-judgment that you've accumulated from the belief that you aren't right as you are. All these false persona, what God called the ego that controls, the false self. the false self that we that really is the problem, but we can't
Right.
see it because we're in it. So
Yeah.
it's a way to look at it in a mirror. Those are self-judgments. So everything our families are judging us about, the reason it hits us is because we feel there's a self-judgment that connects us to it.
Yeah.
So there are ways you can look at that self-judgment and question it. Is it really true? And just hold that feeling.
Yeah.
And that's what everyone's
Allow the
been
feel.
doing.
It's what I've been saying to Melanie or whomever I talk to. Allow that feeling of anger, or disappointment, or regret, or rage, just or grief. Allow it. Just have the higher perspective. See
That's
it
right.
as the messenger that it
That's
is.
right.
See it as the
It,
reflection of yourself that it is.
it
Allow
is
it
the
though.
help. It
Yeah,
is the
it
help.
is the
When we ask
help.
for help, it is the help. That's what I've
Oh,
learned
it's
since I
so
asked for help.
maddening.
It is the help. Oh my God.
It is.
The very situation I've been trying to get out of is where the help is because when I actually am willing to look at it and ask, what is it really? This
Right.
person that triggers these people, this type of person that's always triggered the living crap out of me my whole life. Hang on a minute. How do I turn that around? How do I see myself in that?
Right.
What's really going on here?
And then
And
you're
then
like,
if you
thank
get
you.
to well, you get, yeah, gratitude dissolves pain, but you got to be honest with yourself. You hate the fuck, if you hate that situation and that person, and that's what the Arcturians pointed to a way of looking at this. They pointed at Ramana Maharshi. I was brought through a process of connecting to satsang through Ramana Maharshi. And that was really just about, it's not about him and it's not about anything more than just the path of self-inquiry, seeing yourself in the other. So there's a way to do that, turn it around. One of the things he said is just let the feeling be there. This is what we don't do. Let the feeling be there, whatever it is. Let life put you in the situation that triggers the feeling, because that's where the help is. It's just
Yep.
about your point of view, turning around your point of view. Let the feeling be there and let the story about it. Your mind goes blah, 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 blah. Let that be there too. And then bring that question, what do I know? Hang on a minute.
And it goes for everything.
It goes for everything you perceive.
Geopolitical things, personal introvert
LBGT, all
relationships,
of it.
LGBT, everything.
You
Everything.
stand back. What God said out of, I asked him, how do we deal with this? He said, out of fifth element. Remember, 5 dimensions, spirit, everything's one.
Yeah.
Well, that's a way to do it. That question, hang on, is can I really know that story's true? So now
Yeah.
your emphasis is off that person and trying to control the feeling and get away from it by getting away from that person. You're letting the
Right.
feeling be there. The way Ramana put it is meet the feeling. In other words, meet the person, meet the feeling, meet it for what it is. It's a way of holding it in a way that says, because you're challenging this story you've always told yourself, is it really
Mhm.
true? Can I really know that's true? And you won't get an answer straight away. But just the fact you're willing to ask the question,
That's the question.
hold that question, it
Take the
completely
breather.
transforms your whole way. It completely transforms your subconscious relationship to what you're experiencing. Consciously, you're still going to argue with it. We've all been going through it. It feels like it's called the long dark night of the soul for very good reason. You
Very
can't
good
see the
reason.
forest for the trees, but it changes you on a fundamental level
Yeah.
in a way that you won't catch until something happens and you realize, oh my God, I just heard that same phrase that I've been hearing. It just touched something. It went deeper than it's gone before.
Yeah.
Or you get in a situation that doesn't touch you the way it used to. You connect with that. You have an epiphany. You realize, oh my God. And that process is what the help looks like
Yep.
because it undoes the false paradigm, which is this false reality
It
in us.
undoes the fuckery.
Now, remember, there's layers of suppressed energy that have to come up. There's parts of ourselves stuck
Yep.
in time. We can think we've got there, and we have, but there's parts of ourselves that need to
There's
catch up to
more.
that. So there's a process of suppression being released, and it
Yeah.
feels like it's the same problem nonstop, but it isn't.
Yep.
It's just this old energy, this feeling,
Yep.
which Ramana said they're not even emotions, they're just thoughts masquerading as feelings, fear, judgment, insecurity, blah, blah, you name it. They're all
Yep.
just feeling, just thinking, ideas about an experience that that shapes your experience of them. Is the idea right? Right. Well, it makes sense that once you see through the illusion of the false ideas you've got, the way you experience those situations will transform because you don't
Yeah.
see it the same way anymore. It alters your point of view, and that's the whole problem.
Yep.
Who
It's the
are we
point of
being?
view.
the point of view. Where am I coming from right now? Am I
Yep.
coming from the ego that controls, or am I
Right.
coming from the truth of who I am?
Right.
And that question transforms the entire situation,
All
and
of
that's
it.
destroying their ability to function. It's what's putting light back into the system, that question. The rest is free will doing its thing. They can't hide. They've been cornered by their own strategy and their own system. They had no idea what they were taking on when they took on the human race. They aren't gods and we aren't animals. If anything, it's the other way around.
Yeah.
And it's delusional. They're delusional. They're completely delusional. And what happens when you're delusional? Reality doesn't give a damn what they think, and
No,
you can't
that's
you
my
can't
favorite
outrun it.
thing. You can't outrun it. It's one of my favorite things to say to everybody. The truth does not give a shit what anyone thinks, including me.
Yeah,
Doesn't give a shit.
let it
Coming
let
either
it have
way.
its way with you. Just let the truth have its way with you.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to have our way with reality, let's let the truth of reality have its way with us. And that's why it's been so intense. But we've just hit a whole new phase.
I was just going to say that. I was just going to say the stars are supporting us. That's all written in the astrology. Like this is
Yep.
all helping us do
There's a
this.
very good reason why the astrology over the last 12, 18 months has been unique, because the time in history we're in is unique. And it's a trigger point. So,
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
we've just gone to a new phase,
Yep.
and everything, all the work that's been done over the last 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years by everybody
Yep.
to rewrite the foundation. It's a paradigm shift, essentially, a paradigm shift. This is exactly what it is, in fact. And the problem with paradigm shifts is you can't see the new paradigm yet because you're still coming from the old one.
Yes.
So there has to be this gap. There's always a phase of not knowing between one paradigm to the other where it shows itself to you because you've got the room to let it show itself to you. So
Yep.
it's a massive paradigm shift. But of course, because it's built on fear, it's hard to let go of. So all
Yes.
the work everyone's been doing individually over the last 40, 50 years since World War II actually has all been serving destabilizing the subconscious layer of this paradigm within the human race so it can't function properly. It's not sticking the way it should. So they've been trapped in this phase, and that's really been getting more and more of having more and more of an impact.
Yeah.
And particularly with Gen X, who I was told when I was speaking to Source, X marks the spot. So the pivot point of this generational trauma process being reversed and revealed is happening between the baby boomer Gen X and all the generations that came from Gen X. We're the pivot point because we hold the direct experience of both realities, analog and digital, and everything that that represents. And
Yeah.
we can see what society's lost, what it's
Oh,
gained,
yes.
what
Yep.
it's lost in a way that our children's generation can't quite see.
And this
And
is
and
when, yeah, go on. Go on.
and we can see perhaps aspects of what's coming through in a way that our previous generation can't see
Right.
or have trouble.
Exactly. And
Bringing them
this
together
is,
is what's important.
yes, yes. And this is Q Katie saying, we're kind of special like that.
Now, I know a lot of people who aren't in Gen X are going to hear that and go bollocks. Well, all I can say is I don't care. All I care about is the truth. And when God says something, you listen. Now the entirety of that, he said X marks the spot, and I was shown Gen X. It's not about. Remember, don't identify with the mind.
There's no better than, worse than, ahead
Yeah,
of,
it's all the
behind.
same.
It's not a
Exactly.
thing.
You just
Yeah.
got a job to do. You've got a
Yes.
particular job to do, so you're in a particular vehicle that allows you. If you need to excavate a building, the ground for a building, you want to be a front end loader. You don't want to be a crane, or you don't want to be a
Sure.
bicycle. But
Bingo.
there's a
Bingo.
role
And
for a bike and there's a role for a crane. It's just a different job.
exactly. And everyone's playing their part beautifully. I've been having to say that to people lately around what's happening with Fauci and the hearings right now and Gates or Schwab or whomever. It's like, okay, just don't forget they're playing their part masterfully. They're doing exactly what they're here to do. You have to remember that.
And that's a big, that's a
That's
big
a
shift
big
for a lot of
ask.
people.
That's a big ask. I
It
know,
is.
right?
It is.
I
But
love them all.
the group that's really behind this has never been seen before.
No, no.
If you know their name or face, you're looking at a tool.
Yeah.
And what's
Yeah.
never been seen before is this group. And, God said, what are they trying to achieve? They're looking for a way to make the transition with you. There isn't one.
No, it's
Not
done. It's a
only
done deal.
they
Done.
failed, there isn't one.
They failed. I just
You-
saw, I don't know if it was an orb or a speck of dust, but I just saw this little tiny white light go up and past you, and I don't know what it was.
wow. Okay.
I
Well,
wonder if it's going to be on the recording.
I've been getting a lot of numbers all the way through.
I've been getting numbers like crazy. Tarot by Janine gets orbs around her a lot when she does her recordings for the community. They're quite lovely. So
Oh, great. I think a lot of us are going to see more and more of that. It's becoming,
more and
they've
more.
told me this, yeah, when I had a coma in January, I was in a coma in January. As I came out of it, the Arcturians told me it is done. All in the physical will now conform. And I saw
Yeah.
the Giza plateau switch on and a whole pulse of light go all around the planet.
Yep. Yep.
Okay,
I know
I've
you've
got to
got to
go.
go. Okay. Love you lots. Thank you
All
so
right.
much. Bye, Arna. Have a
See ya.
lovely lunch.
Okay.